Hey guys, this is Raz and Daniel with Higher Ground Financial Group. We want to talk to you a little bit about sequence of returns and what the market really does and how negatives can really impact your growth. So,
So let's say you retired in the year 2000 and with $1 million. Or let's say, first of all, you didn't retire. You just had $1 million in 2000 and you grew for 20 years. So for the next 20 years, you had first three really bad years and then a whole bunch of really good years.
so Daniel, we know we're gonna have bad years. We just don't know when.
Exactly. So at the end of the 20 years, I mean, your $1 million turned into 2.2 million.
Not too bad.
And that's not including dividends, but it's also not including fees or taxes. So, but a million turning into 2.1 or 2.2 million dollars is not bad. It did grow over that time period, even with all the bad years. And so let's talk about though what the difference will be if we could eliminate the bad years.
So that means in the bad years you get zero return, no negatives, no return at all.
Right. So in this case, let's compare it to an account that got zero whenever the market was down. So whenever the market had a negative 10, on this side we have 0. Oops. Trying to zoom out a little bit. Negative 13, 0. Negative 23, still 0. But in exchange for not losing money, you have to give up some upside, right? And these are usually in short accounts, and so to get one thing, you give up something else, right?
Right.
So now you're limited to 9%. Even when the market does 26%, all you can get is 9%.
Man, 26% sounds a lot better than 9% though.
Yeah, and 13%, you still only get 9. So you get the first 9% of whatever the market does, but you don't lose money.
Okay.
Now, again, when it's negative 38, it's back to 0 again. So some years it's 0, and then it's up to 9% in the other years. So at the end of that time period, you actually have 2.7 million instead of 2.2 million.
That's a $500,000 difference. It's a pretty
Yeah.
big difference.
And I'll point out, I mean, this type of account, these index annuity accounts, they're not designed to beat the market when you're just growing and not taking withdrawals. In some periods like this, they would actually, but it really depends on the situation.
So I
However,
mean, sort of like this: if the market goes down, your this account stays where it is. When the market starts coming back up, you go up, so you don't have to ever dig out of a hole, and that makes a huge difference long term if you're not digging out of a hole.
when you're taking withdrawals is when it really makes a huge impact. So let's use a 5% withdrawal rate, for example. And the reason I use 5% is because the average return over the 20 years was actually about 5%, 5.6% average return. Annualized was a little bit less. But if you took out $50,000 a year for 20 years, you would have actually been completely out of money in the market.
In 19 years, yep.
In 19 years, you'd be completely out of money. Where did all the rest of that growth go? You took out 940,000, you started with a million. What happened to the 2.2 million you would have had? It's because you had to take money out in the bad years as well as good years. If you retired, you spend money every year. You can't just say, "Oh, when the market's down, I'm not going to eat this year." You got to eat. So
Yeah.
you have to spend money. So that's where the index annuity strategy can really have an impact.
So again, we don't know when the market's gonna go bad. We just know that it will, and if it goes bad when you're retiring, especially in the early years, it can really impact your wealth.
So in this same circumstance, you take out 50,000 a year, but you never lose money and you're capped on the upside. At the end of that time period, you would still have $926,000
So
compared to
basically,
being completely out of money.
so basically, you spent your $1 million and still have $1 million to leave to the kids.
Exactly. And that's why protecting your money from losses is so important in retirement. When you're retired, the number one rule should be don't lose money. Preserve what you have. And if in the worst case scenario you can't lose money, that allows you to spend a lot more. And you may have heard that 5% is too high of a withdrawal rate, and it is. This is the reason that it is, because you have bad years in the market. But if you can eliminate the bad years in the market, 5% may not actually be a terrible withdrawal rate. Maybe
Right.
even 6% you could have taken out in that same time period. So protecting your money from loss is very key in retirement. There's really the three biggest killers we talk about a lot: risk, fees, and taxes. This one is dealing with risk, how to minimize risk in retirement. But there's fees and taxes, and we'll have some other content about that as well that you can check out on our YouTube channel.
All right, and we'll have another video about annuities because people keep asking, annuities, are they bad? I've heard really bad things about them, so we'll stay tuned. We'll give you another video on annuities.